Time is running out. At TheorySabers.com, we're giving away one free saber with every single saber purchase. Order before the 18th of October to get your sabers in the mail before Halloween.
When most of us fans think of Return of the Jedi, one of the most emotional moments is Yoda's death on Dagobah. It's very quiet, intimate, and it really cements Luke as the last Jedi of the Order. But in the early drafts and early story conferences, Yoda's fate wasn't set in stone at all. In fact, George Lucas, Lawrence Kasdan, and Richard Marquand debated whether Yoda should even die in the movie. From the making of Return of the Jedi book, during the July 1981 story conference, Marquand asks directly, "Is Yoda still going to come back and shimmer at the end?" Kasdan replies, "If we have him alive, he doesn't really have to." George Lucas then floats the idea, we could have him die. From there, the discussion really spirals, and Marquand likes the idea of Yoda passing on, but Kasdan pushes back, asking if Yoda should even appear again at all. Lucas finally proposes that Yoda's death could serve as Luke's graduation moment. Yes, old age kind of thing. You're on your own, kid. You're the last of the Jedi now. This is your diploma. I have to leave. Ben is gone. It's you and your sister. This is pretty cool because it shows that Yoda's death wasn't quite part of a fixed mythic plan. It was considered a storytelling device, a way to close out Luke's apprenticeship and send him forward as the final Jedi. Kasdan even wondered if it would feel redundant, given that Ben Kenobi already died in A New Hope. He asks, "It wouldn't preempt the Vader-Luke scene at the end, would it? Like two deathbed scenes?" Whereas George Lucas says this, which is really interesting. He says, "I think that the subtle way to do it, which is interesting, is that if he is dying, we never see him die. He's dying, and then Luke leaves, and at the end, Yoda is a shimmering thing, which implies that he died." In other words, Lucas's original idea considered not showing Yoda's actual death scene, just letting audiences infer it when he reappears as a ghost. Kasdan, meanwhile, argues that Yoda's death should feel positive, even life-affirming. On page 63, he says, "I am wondering about the Yoda death scene, thinking it would be really interesting if he was sort of cheerful, no bad news." Whereas Marquand agreed, and Kasdan continues saying Yoda is a life-affirming force as he dies. That line explains so much about how the final scene plays. Yoda isn't afraid, he isn't bitter, he goes peacefully, cracking jokes about how old he is and leaving Luke with clarity. Lucas also stressed that the lesson of Yoda's death wasn't about fear, but acceptance. He tells them, "One of the lessons to be learned is that death is not a terrible, horrible thing. At best, it is a painful, awful thing, but you have to go beyond that." So, what does this all really mean? It means that Yoda's death wasn't guaranteed. It wasn't mapped out from the beginning as some sort of cosmic necessity to happen. Instead, it was really just a tool and storytelling choice, debated by, in the writer's room, used to signal the end of Luke's training. Kind of like an accomplishment. Kasdan, Marquand, and Lucas shaped it to be what we finally see, which is not a tragedy but an acceptance, a sort of passing of wisdom from one generation to the next. And when you compare this to the prequels, it becomes even more poignant. In Revenge of the Sith, Yoda fails to defeat Palpatine. He retreats, broken into exile on Dagobah. By the time of Return of the Jedi, his story comes full circle. He doesn't fall in battle, he doesn't go out in anger or despair, he simply lets go, trusting that the Jedi will continue through Luke and his teachings. So the next time we watch Luke kneel at Yoda's bedside, let's remember that this wasn't always guaranteed. In another version, Yoda might have lived through the movie or vanished off screen. Instead, we got a farewell scene that's both heartbreaking and comforting at the same time, but really just meant to develop more of Luke's story because at the end of the day, he is the second main character, the first one being Anakin. This story was shaped by July 1981 in the story meetings into the moment that we know so well today, which came out in 1983. And that wraps up how Yoda's death wasn't supposed to happen in Return of the Jedi. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please check out TheorySabers.com for all of your saber needs, and I'll see you in the next video. Until then, remember, the Force will be with you always.